More than 500,000 children in this country are living in some sort of foster care. 2 out of 3 of those children are reunited with their birth parents within 2 years. But most of those who remain can spend years waiting for some kind of home. A gripping new memoir sheds light on some of the hardships one child faced. The photos of Andrew Bridge seem picture perfect, as if straight from a happy family scrapbook. Here celebrating his 12th birthday, a warm afternoon by the pool, and later, all grown up in a tuxedo. But the sunny smiles hide a troubled childhood, a life separated from his mentally ill mother and abandoned by the state, a life spent growing up in foster care and at Los Angeles' notorious McLaren Hall. Years later, the state-run Children's Center faced child abuse allegations and was closed in 2003. Recently, Andrew Bridge returned to McLaren, the place where sadness began in his young life. Now a lawyer, he's overcome his childhood hardships and turned them into something good, the determination to fight for children's rights he never had as a boy. Andrew Bridge went on to get a law degree from Harvard and became an advocate for children's rights. His new book, Hope's Boy, describes his life as a foster child. Andrew Bridge, such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. Your story is amazing.
Thank you very much.
Only 2% of foster children go on to college. Not only did you do that, you went on to Harvard after that. How did you overcome, what kind of hurdles did you overcome to get there?
Well, I was very fortunate in a lot of ways. I was fortunate, number one, to stay in the same foster home and not to be moved over and over again. I was also fortunate to go to school at a time when you could attend school in a large urban setting and have wonderful teachers and know that you were going to get a great education. And those are really the heroes in many ways of my childhood. Those were the ones that let me know that Harvard Law School and Fulbrights and things like that were possible and made me believe in those things and in myself.
Teachers make a difference.
They made an enormous difference for me, yeah.
You talk about how fortunate you were in that way, but your book really talks about how unfortunate you were in many other ways. The part that you told me was the most difficult to write were the years you spent with your mother, which were only 2 years of your life. But you tell some rough stories in the book about her taking you with her to rob a house, you eating cat litter.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that was like for you.
Well, it was very hard. My mother was a beautiful woman. She met a man when she was 16 years old. She'd spent time in foster care herself. She married him when she was 17 and had me before her 18th birthday. And then he left her. And she did her very best. I was staying with my grandmother for a number of years and then returned to her care. She went to beauty school. And in those 2 years that I had her, I watched a beautiful woman fall apart and become mentally ill and lose really everything that she had. She lost her only child. She lost her freedom. She was institutionalized. And in many ways, she lost what most of us would consider a meaningful and a full life.
Yeah, still, it strikes me that you talk about that as the happiest time of your life. Why?
It was the happiest time of my life because she did what a mom needs to do, and through all of that there was never any doubt, and I carried it with me all the way through those years in foster care and still carry it inside me. She showed her boy that she loved him. And that was more important than anything. And frankly, it was more important than even staying in the same foster home. It meant that I believed in myself and I knew that there were things that were possible.
Amazing that that's what you took. You recognized that she did the best that she could.
Yeah.
Given
Absolutely.
her situation. Well, then you moved into foster care and you did spend 11 years in the same foster home.
Yeah.
What kind of, before you got there though, did you spend time in these centers like McLaren?
I did.
What are conditions like in these places?
They're not good. They're not good. And fortunately, this country's moved away from relying on them as heavily as they did in the past, and certainly when I was a kid. When I went to McLaren, this was a very, very large facility built on the outskirts of Los Angeles. It was surrounded by fences with barbed wire. It was run by the Department of Probation.
Like a prison, it sounds like.
Really it was. There were armed guards who patrolled the halls, and inside you had hundreds and hundreds of foster children. I lived in a very large dormitory where there was literally bed after bed after bed. And in that room, I bet there were 300 kids, boys, aged 7 to 9 years old.
That's awful.
not good places. And
so I can see why you've dedicated your life to changing this system quickly. As you've gone on to work in this field, have you seen any improvement?
I think we've seen wonderful improvements.
Yeah.
I think we need to go a lot farther, but we've seen wonderful things. I think we see foster care departments that are more supportive of families. I think we've made wonderful improvements in the area of adoption, in the area of supporting relatives who want to get their relative kids out of foster care.
Good.
I think we've really done some really wonderful things. Unfortunately, as you said, we still have a situation where only half the kids who leave foster care have high school degrees.
Yeah.
And only 2% graduate from college.
All right, well, you're working to change that. We appreciate you being here. Thank you,
so
Andrew.
much.
To read an excerpt from Hope's Boy, go to our website, cbsnews.com.